What's good, YouTube? And welcome to a brand new year, same old me. Although I did gain a little bit less weight than I thought I would through the holidays because I kept doing weights all the way through without giving up. So there is that. I'm not a New Year's resolution guy, but I plan to polish up the channel a bit, as well as get back to live streams and even get some edited videos out there, although through an editor, not myself, so they look even nicer with a huge one to come later this year. That being said, let's go ahead and get to the cards, John. Here on Market Watch, we have been no stranger to extra deck cards doing odd specific interactions and going crazy in price, and Soul Hunter is doing exactly that. For Unchained, an established deck that has really pushed back past what people thought it could, this is a $30 sold card, $40 lowest listed, but I don't feel like all that much hype is truly there for Ready Fusion, where Instant Fusion in the past really was a powerhouse in the metagame. Ultimate Slay was probably overhyped with a lot of those targets going way too far in price. Look at this. Ready Fusion itself has over 200 listings, isn't even a dollar card for the 10 version, and there is a $2 listed copy here, I believe, of the OG version, even with free shipping over 5 before it starts to head towards 3 versus its market price of 2. We've mentioned Ready Fusion targets a couple times within the last few months, and when it's multiple decks, you would think that hype would actually go up there with how little the 2022 10s are ripped open. $120 a case, right? Like $10 a 10, and people aren't going to rip them open for just this. So I feel like it's easier to make stuff like this disappear that was already kind of treading water high and make the hype really seem like it's there. And as a famous duelist once said, test before you invest. While I'm not a financial advisor channel, I don't know the future of card prices, Konami reprints, I would definitely see what this does for your Unchained deck versus without, and how much it actually adds for this kind of a ridiculous price point that will likely fall back out over time. Look at what happened with Rare Fish, even though that was actually truly viable within its time. Now, would it be New Year, same old me without a sponsored shout out? Code What's Good 10 for 10% off, and to support both channels directly over the Team Samurai X1 shop. They have their white sleeves back in stock. Do keep in mind, these are meant to be a little more fragile than the average sleeve, so you will want to replace them through a tournament, but they feel so good, so similar to Player's Choice. They really are there, and I truly like them. You can see a ton of pros actually playing this with their tournament experience, so I would say definitely give them a try, and they are super nice. Now, I also do like to call out my sponsors a little, but that's not what I'm gonna do here. There's a Reddit thread on Sam saying, look, I have been scammed by him. What a scumbag. I haven't got my stuff. And it's right to complain when you haven't got your stuff in a while and you're reaching out and you cannot get in contact. I actually sent this to Sam myself, and he responded. He asked me what I thought of his response, so this is not a bot response. He made it himself. It's trying to be professional. And then he does say to email here, and that we'll have a new team January 8th. So he did miss a little connect in terms of like, yo, if you want to be taken care of immediately, which he takes care of later in the thread. He didn't even get back to me on this and personally replies to multiple people. What's important in situations like these is you get on top of it, you make responses like this, you do give alternate context, such as DM me on here on Reddit, or here's my Discord right here, and you do this kind of stuff. I've personally been pretty stressed out with the Big 3 situation, as now a lot of people are messaging me about their Fire King structure decks not showing up still, and I think it's upwards of 100 messages. I've fallen behind on my own Patreon at this point. I'm gonna actually give extra special things to each and every Patreon who stayed on through the entire time. I think I'm like 3 months behind at this point. So it happens to the best of us. Sometimes when you're doing a ton of different things, you're handling other situations, there's stressors people don't know about, you end up having it happen to you, even when historically you've stayed on top of it. So it happens to me. He's actually putting a whole new customer team in place starting January 8th, and I love this kind of actual response and getting on it. And the thread actually said, I don't think he's a scumbag, I think he's behind running a business, these kinds of things. There's a lot of that sentiment, and I don't know why the thread is locked. leave these conversations open even when they seem to be resolved, because he was personally responding to people. So people who are having problems, that would be an easy way for Sam to take care of it. Again though, go to What's Good 10 for 10% off and to support both channels directly, and that's the kind of response I like to see, instead of your site just shutting down and you shutting down on people. Let's go ahead and talk about Rarity Collection, because it's both on the top and bottom end going absolutely wild. Again, no winter coolant on this winter market. It has stayed hot with the last 2 hype sets of the year and a ban list and all these other factors. It's really just kept chugging. The lowest version of Ash Blossoms through the Rarity Collection are starting to rebound up. I think this one was kind of obvious. No matter how many times you print Ash, people are going to want it. It's going to have to phase out of the game like Mystical Space Typhoon for it to really go down under being a $3 card at this point. But also you have Nadir's Servant, and this one's interesting. The Platinum Secret Rare is getting bought out after the Quarter Century Secret Rare, where people aren't necessarily going after the Collector Rare or the Ultimate Rare. Look over at this though, we have Ghost Bell, which also had a Quarter Century Secret Rare buyout really push up, and we talked about that, but its Collector Rare is on buyout mode, and I think the Ultimate Rare looks amazing on this card, but its Platinum Secret Rares not on buyout mode. These mixed rarities, we did talk about on the channel how different cards are going to have different ones bought out depending on how the card looks, and there's not going to be a distinct necessarily rarity take that entire place, but I did not expect it to be Platinum Secret on pretty much any cards, and here we already have it with Nadir's Servant. So this is pretty darn cool to actually see all these easy access version cards, cheap versions of cards, as the highest rarity as intended ends up going up, and then different pieces going at a time where you still can get a version of the card that looks nice, but people have their different taste and they are going. Also, Quarter Century Secret Rare Change of Hearts going up. This one was kind of obvious to me for its lineage within the game, alongside the fact that the Pharaoh's Rare was pretty popular on Inception. Yeah, this one, I feel like it was on the top of the list. Summon Limit, you may limit all those other floodgates, but here it is, the Quarter Century Secret Rare going way up in price towards $20 as people figure out what they want to play for their floodgates. Herald of the Arc-like Quarter Century Secret Rare is way up there in price. We were already covering this as it went up, and it's going up further. Ritual Good Stuff is getting even stronger. Borreload Savage Dragon, I didn't see coming, though. The Vrains Heads Dragon Link players, it is up here towards $30 freaking lowest listed, with even getting sales at this price point now. You do have also Celine here kind of going wild at $30. And also to note why I thought this one would be slower, it has its Starlight Rare already versus its Quarter Century Secret Rare. So like you have that alternate version Battles of Legend, yet here it ended up going. And that doesn't stop all of the cards, it just put it in the back of my head as not as urgent. Celine, however, you've got the waifu tax, you've got the, Exodia memes that did happen that are now gone, and you also just have this card being such a toolbox to level up through your extra deck. This one did feel obvious as well. Now, what isn't obvious is Droll and Lockbird starting to spike out of the structure deck from the Fire Kings, the brand new structure deck. This and Imperm alone are doing such heavy lifting. People in the Discord pointed this one out to me. I was like, there's no way. There's no shot already. And when it comes to structure decks also, I feel like we always underestimate what they're going to do to the metagame from so many people grabbing extra pieces around them that sometimes I forget to really stare at that list and think, people do like Droll. It's still Drollish format, but wow, I did not expect that this quickly. I thought this would be like $250 max. But speaking of expensive cards out of here, Vision Resonator has gone back up as other pieces went back down out of the Crimson King structure deck. Also, the 8-packs have calmed down a bit in price for the thanks John Moore, I was gonna get that later. Well, they're still there at a pretty darn cheap price, just not $45 cheap, which was way too little in my opinion. Gravekeeper's Inscription, I was laughing because I pointed out Tombox's pick that was wrong on the Tri-Edge Master, then I pointed out mine and DB Grinder's pick that was wrong a while ago in Gravekeeper's Inscription, and here it goes again. Why history is doomed to repeat itself, right? Anything can become good later for the right or wrong reasons when you're calling things on here. We have Blessing of Horse quarter century secret rare way up in price here, and the ultra rare is pretty easy access in my opinion for this kind of version. We do have fighting for the top spot here, Wanted versus SP Little Knight. So these two cards are going back and forth right now for that top spot, where people do want about 2 SP Little Knights versus 3 of the Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils. Be aware, these have gone absolutely crazy towards $120, and that $120 is where things used to cap with the event cap of $100 cards versus these fees and shipping, etc. You'd get about $100 after all that. So at events, we could see these go even crazier in price in the future. Hida, the Fire Charmer Ablaze. We talked about this quarter century secret, or no, Starlight, my bad, Starlight rare. I use those interchangeably sometimes in my head. It's going way up in price, and 420.69 is the lowest. You get the meme feature here on Market Watch. Pot of Acquisitiveness live editing done cheap. It's got its version out of the prismatic ultra rare or whatever they're gonna be calling it, really parallel rare in my opinion. Pot collection version, it's been bought out. I don't really know about this one, but people be going crazy, and it does only have 2 versions of the card. World Sea Dragons Elantis, I talked about this because of my experience in Master Duel and actually caught it going up early before. It's pretty low on listing, so if you do want access to this card, you should probably get it sooner than later using that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. Alpha the Master of Beast, I didn't think this one would be going up even with Hankratops at 2, 3 Fenrir. The last time I even heard of this card, I feel like it was Small World combos to utilize it. I don't know. It's $7 to $8. Let me know why you think this is going up, other than generic good card, maybe. But yeah, look at how its Starlight rare has fallen out over time. It is ridiculous. From $160 a year ago, you know, its version is coming, just dip, all the way to $38. I would actually consider this version if you think the hype behind this buy is real. But it does feel like with the quarter century secret rares starting to spike in Rarity Collection, people are going more for the spread with how hard it is to get them for any card that could be pretty darn good. And finally, there's some goatee buyouts. They've been lower quantities ever since the deck support was announced, and they are starting to trend back up while still being affordable at this point. I feel like it's a bit overhyped versus, you know, what it is, but at the same time, it's still pretty darn affordable. These always get me scratching my head when I see them play and they do better than I think, and I'm like, I'm getting some copium for that deck, and it makes me want to plunge on into the depths that they live in. So let me know what you think about the goatee deck versus the prices, because the low quantity is bubbling up in price, yet at the same time it starts to get to that point where I talk myself into it, and I feel like other people end up doing that too. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the conversations. I always try to be transparent with what's going on around my sponsors and bring it as much as I can to you all, so you can see how the sides of also businesses work, and also what I'm going through at times. I feel like that's important too, when actually having that communication with an audience while trying not to get parasocial. Hard balance, right? Like, it's pretty hard to do that.